ESPN analyst Ed Cunningham. Ed, thanks for joining us and being in Provo.
Yeah, appreciate it.
What makes Provo a unique place for you to visit?
It's close to home for me. I live in LA, so it's nice when you get an assignment here. But, the last few years I've done a lot of games here, specifically in Provo. So I've gotten to know the town a bit. Obviously, it's a wonderful place. But what I've really been impressed in, I've never been in this building. This is a really amazing, it's a world-class university with a world-class athletic department. So what's been really cool to get to see is the change this place has gone through over the last decade or so. And the energy of Bronco Mendenhall. He's a very unique guy. He doesn't give cliched answers. He thinks through things. He's a deep thinker. And so for me, it's kind of refreshing to come to a place like this that has such a fresh perspective and just amazing energy on this campus and around the things that are happening with the university in general.
Through independence now, BYU has put together quite a schedule for 2013. Athletic Director Tom Homo has worked tirelessly to get these big names on the schedule. When you look at the opponents that BYU faces this year, do you not just see great potential?
It's unbelievable. When BYU first announced that they were going independent, I think I had the same reaction as a lot of people, which was, does that make sense? Will they be able to survive? And when you look at the schedule, this is not about survival. This is tougher than any schedule BYU would have put together, I think, in a conference, unless it were a conference like the Big 12 or the Pac-12. Sure. And so I think what they have done in independence has actually gotten to a place where I think the brand is going to get bigger nationally. I think the deal with our network, ESPN, for the home games is huge. Obviously, BYUtv and the reach internationally with the also the Xbox announcement today. It's hard to imagine how many people are going to get in touch with the BYU athletic department through those initiatives. But I think that schedule will keep them in the national conversation throughout the year. And I think a lot of times in conferences like the Mountain West or the WAC, you'd have those big early season games. Maybe you travel back east and you play a big name. But then as the regular season came on and people checked in on that, on your team, and they see you're playing, again, lesser, what they see as lesser teams, not necessarily they're not competitive, but they don't have the name brands of Notre Dame, Virginia, schools that just immediately when you look at. So I think on a national stage, it's really, I'm shocked. I think it's really impressive what they've done. When you get here and you see the assets, it makes sense. But when I first heard independence, I never would have suspected this type of schedule was possible really anywhere outside of a Notre Dame. So it's really impressive.
You've spoken a little bit about Coach Bronco Mendenhall, and obviously he's done a fantastic job. I believe through 8 seasons he has the best winning percentage of any coach in BYU football history, and that list includes Lavelle Edwards, who
not a bad guy to be compared
obviously
to,
who is a legend here in the Valley. What do you like about this program now and where it's headed, despite the independence and the difficulties that come from that?
Well, but it's funny, the independence, I think, has given this program the ability to recruit better. I think that because of the deal with ESPN and the amount of time that BYU spends on the big national stage of the ESPN family of networks, plus BYUtv, what you're starting to see is with 5 of the starting front 7 gone from last year's team, including a top 5 NFL pick, nobody's panicking. They know, and there are some guys coming back that were injured, but nobody's panicking. And I remember last year we did the Oregon State game, getting ready and watching the film. You could see the bodies changing out on that front 7, so I can see why they're not concerned. It's really impressive. I think this is a national top 10 or 15 program that Bronco has built here, off of the back of all of the work before he came here with Lavelle Edwards and the great players and staffs before that. But it's, like I said, until you come here and really get a sense of this place, I think it's hard to see how good the program really is.
The ever-faithful Cougar Nation wants to believe that this team with this schedule can be the BCS Busters. I know that term is probably widely overused, but in the last year of the current BCS model, do you feel like the schedule's strong enough that BYU can lose a game or 2 and still be considered for one of those big games?
I don't know about 2. I think 1, especially on the back end with Notre Dame in there, I think if the loss that they have is early, say a Texas in a close game or something, if that loss is early, I think they could get back in the conversation. Certainly, and also remember, there is the automatic berth into the BCS. If you finish into the top 12, you can automatically get into the BCS. So for BYU, at 11-1 with this schedule, as long as that loss doesn't come late and ugly, I absolutely think 1. I don't think 2 would get it, but I think the way the schedule lays out, they certainly at 11-1 would be, I think, not just in the conversation, but maybe likely to get a BCS bowl berth.
I know you've done countless college football games and you've been around the sport for such a long time, but do you have a favorite moment that you've had during broadcasting a BYU game specifically?
I'm trying to think.
That's a tough question.
BYU, yeah. Most of my great memories of BYU are in the Holiday Bowl. I think that's kind of, guys my age, that's always the, I'm trying to think. We had Oregon State last year, which was just a strange game. That game never made sense to me. But I don't think I have a favorite BYU moment per se. I'll never forget Jim McMahon I played with Jim in the NFL for a year, so I like Jim, and I still consider him a good friend. So that throw in the Holiday Bowl, I don't know why, they still show it on ESPN Classic, and so that's the one that always sticks out. And again, it reminds you of it's kind of what BYU football was about then. It's like you turn, they're throwing it a mile again. Because that just wasn't common back in that day of football. So I was in high school then, and so I think that's probably my biggest memory.
Very cool. Ed Cunningham, we thank you for the insight, and good luck to you in the upcoming season.
Right.
We look forward to seeing you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mark.